They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want you.
Come on, hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Corruption not in my country.
This CV is for Eugenia here. She's here for the vacancy. See to the CV and she got the job.
Could you please wait for me at the reception? But sir.
Yes.
She studied physical and health education.
Yes.
We already shortlisted 3 qualified candidates for the job. They all studied accounting. With all due respect, sir, we need qualified people in the accounts department. People who are good with figures.
How do you know that she does not understand what figures are?
But why do we need a square peg in a round hole?
What is important here is to fill in the vacancy. Anyhow, I will take.
I can't be a part of this. That is a language of corruption. And corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Corruption is not just an aberration or a nuisance. It is a systematic feature that constitutes an impediment to economic development. Corruption must therefore be eliminated or reduced to the barest minimum if Nigeria must be placed on the path of sustainable development. ICPC has always tried to live up to its vision of a Nigeria free from all forms of corruption through the deployment of lawful enforcement and preventive initiatives with the utmost respect for citizens' rights. ICPC, as a prosecuting agency, can only take a suspect to court after it has established a prima facie case following a meticulous investigation. It is not empowered to clamp suspects into jail arbitrarily. Welcome to Corruption Must Go. I am Murna Barnabas Atiai. Today on the program, we shall take a look at a few of the hundreds of cases initiated in various courts across the country by ICPC, for which the accused persons have made their first appearances in court. We shall also bring you our Opportunity Cost of Corruption segment, OCOX, drama, and our Ethics and Values Spice. This is Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. Ruth Awadi brings us details of some of these arraignments.
Welcome to this segment. I am Ruth Awudi. After several unsuccessful attempts due to absence in court of the accused persons, ICPC was finally able to arraign the Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, Ishaq Modibo Kawu, over his alleged complicity in the misapplication of the 2.5 billion seed grant for Digital Switchover DSO program of the federal government. Kawu, alongside the chairman of Pinnacle Communications Limited, Mr. Lucky Omoluwa, and the chief operating officer of the same company, Mr. Dikpo Onifade, were docked before Justice Folashade Ogubanjo-Giwa of the Federal High Court, Abuja. The commission, in a 12-count charge, accused them of abuse of office, money laundering, and misleading a public officer with the intent to defraud the federal government. All the three accused persons pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to them. Their counsel, A.U. Mustafa, Alex Izion, and A.V. Etuwewe jointly prayed the court to grant them bail on liberal terms. The trial judge Ogubanjo Giwa, in her ruling, admitted the accused persons to bail in the sum of 100 million naira each, with two sureties in like sums. She added that the sureties must be reputable persons in the community with landed properties within Abuja metropolis. The title documents of the said landed properties must be kept in the custody of the court throughout the duration of the trial. The judge further ruled that one of the sureties must be a civil servant in the employment of the federal government on salary grade level 17, living within the jurisdiction of the court, and must also show evidence of tax payment for the last 5 years. Other bail conditions include the trio submitting their international passports to the deputy court registrar and that they cannot travel out of the country. Former Secretary to the Nigeria Law Reform Commission, Mrs. Folake Abiodun Oguneye, has been arraigned before Honorable Justice M.B. Idris of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, 29, sitting in Yanya for fraud by ICPC. Mrs. Oguneye is facing prosecution for allegedly defrauding the federal government of the sum of 26.6 million naira. The commission, in a 5-count charge, had averred that Mrs. Oguneye, while serving as the secretary to the Nigeria Law Reform Commission, conferred corrupt advantage upon herself by using her office to derive various unlawful pecuniary benefits for herself to the tune of the above sum. ICPC told the court how the accused person received the sum of 4.1 million naira from Kings and Car Tours and Travels Nigeria Limited, which was part of the sum of 10.2 million naira paid to a company, Snuggies Investment Limited, by the Nigeria Law Reform Commission for publicity over the reform and unification of what is known as sale of goods law in Nigeria. The defendant was also accused of receiving the sum of 96,000 naira monthly, amounting to 1.2 million naira for 1 year as furniture allowance from the Law Reform Commission, whereas she had actually collected the bulk sum of 5.8 million naira for the 5-year period of her tenure. Mrs. Oguneye was further charged for accepting the sums of 15 million naira from one Hoffman Ademola Oluwatoyin, the proprietor of Motun Adekunle Enterprises, being part of the sum of 15.5 million naira for the unification of sale of goods law in Nigeria and 600,000 naira as gratification from a contract she had awarded respectively. Oguneye pleaded not guilty to all the charges leveled against her, and her counsel, A.O. Ayodele, via a written application sought the reliefs of the court to grant her bail, which was not opposed by the prosecution. The trial judge therefore admitted the accused person to bail in the sum of 5 million naira and a surety in like sum who must not be lesser than a grade level 14 public officer within the jurisdiction of the court and must possess evidence of a landed property within the FCT. In another development, a director in the Federal Ministry of Education, Mr. Victor Igboanugo, was arraigned by ICPC over alleged contract fraud to the tune of 162 million naira and ownership of property valued way above his legitimate income. Mr. Igbo Anugo, who had worked at various times in the Ministries of Environment and Niger Delta Affairs, is facing a 17-count charge before Justice V.B. Ashi of the Federal Capital Territory High Court 23, Apo, Abuja. ICPC counsel Henry Imore told the court that Mr. Igbo Anugo, while being the secretary of the Ministerial Tenders Board at the Ministry of Environment, facilitated the award of multiple contracts to private companies where he held personal interests. The court also heard that the accused, while acting as a deputy director of procurement at the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, bought a property in the United States of America for $140,000, a sum way above his legitimate income. Adekombi Femi, after the award of contract for the construction of a skill acquisition center. The defendant pleaded not guilty to the 17-count charge leveled against him, and the defense counsel put in the application for bail, which was not opposed by the prosecution. Justice Ashi granted the accused bail in the sum of 2 million naira, with one shorty in like sum who must be an officer not below grade level 14 in the Federal Civil Service. He also ordered the accused to submit his international passport to the court registrar. In a similar vein, the Deputy Speaker of Abia State House of Assembly, Dr. Cosmos Chukwudi Ndukwe, has been arraigned before Honorable Justice C.C. Thomas Adele at the Abia State High Court, Umuahia, by ICPC, for allegedly using his position as a public officer for self-gratification and corrupt enrichment to the tune of 54,610,000 naira. The accused person, alongside his company, Messrs. Conk Production Nigeria Limited, and his agent Chijoke Okonkwo, are being slammed with an 8-count charge bordering on gratification and abuse of office. Dr. Ndukwe is alleged to have used his position as the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Abia State Environmental Protection Agency between February 2007 and April 2012 to confer corrupt advantage upon himself by accepting the sum of 5.8 million naira purportedly as a loan from Messrs. Ancold Nigeria Limited, a contractor with the agency where he had served as an official. In addition, the defendants, Dr. Ndukwe and his company, Messrs. Conk Production Nigeria Limited, were alleged to have received gratification to the tune of 42.8 million naira in various monthly installments between March 2009 and January 2010. He was also alleged to have corruptly accepted for himself the total sum of 5 million naira through an agent, Chijoke Okonkwo, as reward for assisting Ancold Nigeria Limited to secure prompt payment of the contract fees for the provision of environmental sanitation services to Abia State Environmental Protection Agency. Dr. Ndukwe and Mr. Okonkwo were also alleged to have conspired to conceal the gratification by depositing the said sum in the account of Messrs. Conk Productions Nigeria Limited under various names. The accused persons pleaded not guilty to the charges. Justice Adele granted bail to each of them in the sum of 1 million naira and one shorty each in like sum, who shall show evidence of means, tax payment, residential address within Aba and Umuahia, and the address verified by the registrar of the court. The judge gave them 7 days to perfect their bail conditions. That will be all on this segment. Stay with us.
Welcome to OCOX. In this segment, we will be looking at the opportunity cost of the 2.5 billion naira alleged corruption in the matter involving KAU and others. If convicted, the implication is as follows. According to the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, a block of 5 classrooms in states like Ogun, Edo, Kwara and Kogi states costs 32.3 million naira. If we do a quick maths, 2.5 billion naira would have built 77 blocks of 5 classrooms, which comes to a total of 385 classrooms. Wow! To think that in this country, we have children who learn under trees due to lack of classrooms. What a great loss. After accused persons plead not guilty to all charges, what is usually the Commission's next line of action? A lawyer from our legal department tells us more.
When the accused person pleads not guilty to the charge, if there's a pending bail application, then the defendant's counsel will take the bail application. Most often, if we decide to oppose the bail, we will have filed our own counter affidavit to their own motion, to their motion for bail. But if we are not opposing, we will not file any counter affidavit. Then we inform the court that we are not opposed the application for bail. Then what happens next is, most often we always urge the court to give stringent bail conditions to ensure that the accused person comes to court to attend to his case. Then after the bail application, if the judge so grants the defendant bail, then it depends on the court. The court can direct the prosecution to commence with his case immediately or fix a date for hearing. Then when the date is fixed for hearing, then at the next adjourned date, the prosecution is compelled to bring his witnesses to court. And it depends on how many witnesses you want to call. If you have one witness, you can call one witness, 2 witnesses, and depends on the disposition of the court too. If the court can take us on a day-to-day basis, we go on a day-to-day basis and conclude the trial as fast as possible. Then if we have 5 witnesses, we call our 5 witnesses and close our case. Then maybe the next line of action is the court will call upon the defense to enter their defense. But most often what we see these days is for the defense to come with what they call a no-case submission. That from all the witnesses we have called, we have not proved some essential egregious of the offense, or that there are material contradictions in the evidence of our witnesses. And when we argue the no-case submission, most often the court will call upon the defense or the defendant to enter his defense, or in some cases discharge and acquit the defendant.
See, I don't pity those corrupt officials. They are terrible.
All of them are thieves.
It's those small corruption that is killing this country.
Benny, it's true.
Greetings to you, sir.
Greetings, my brother.
From the power company, I discover you connected illegally.
It's not only me. Even Baba Femi here is connected indirectly. Even with our prepaid meter, he connected indirectly.
That is even more.
Iyarisika connected indirectly.
No. It is wrong to connect electricity illegally.
Young man, I have a son like you. Ba la fi jẹun.
You are not supposed to offer me bribe. Bribery is corruption, not in my country. Daniel, take off the light.
Yeah.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
By arraigning suspects before the courts, ICPC is simply adhering to the provisions of its guiding legislation in line with the rule of law. It is the duty of the courts to determine if the suspects are guilty or not and to mete out appropriate punishments. The Commission can only expect that at the conclusion of the cases cited above, the accused persons will be found guilty and punished accordingly, as this will deter other public officers by putting them on notice that corrupt behavior has attendant punishment. That's our package on this week's edition. You can watch the program on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/ICPC Nigeria. See you again next week, and bye for now.